Hey there guys, welcome back to another video presentation where we are looking at CSEC Information Technology past papers, and the topic of focus from the syllabus for this set of videos is the problem solving and programming section. The year paper that we are currently working on is the May-June 2019 past paper, and we'll be looking at questions 9 and 10 for this particular paper. So let's get right into it. All right, for question 9, we are presented with a list of programming terms and errors, and then we're asked to fill in the blank based on the statements that are given below. So the first question implies that Anissa wrote code using Pascal dash level language. So what type of level programming language is Pascal? And in this case, Pascal is considered to be a high level language. All right, B says she typed the dash code and then saved it. What type of code is presented in Pascal? This is normally referred to as the source code. C, while she is typing the code, Anissa made sure to dash certain lines so that the program was easy to read. And this C is an example of the type of term that was used to make adjustment to it. So this would be referred to as the indent. So she would have indented certain lines, or made sure to indent certain lines so that she can read it properly. D, there were no dash errors, so the program followed the grammar of the language. What type of error focuses on grammar? In this case, the syntax error would be the most suitable. E says she then dashed the program to see if it was grammatically correct. And in order for her to see what errors would have been there grammatically, she would have to execute the program. So she then executed the program to see if it was grammatically correct. F, Anissa then enters some dash data to see if the program produced the correct output. What type of data could she have used so that she could test what the output would look like? And she would have to use some test data to get this up and running. All right, so test data, and this would have been the example of where we use our trace table in order to see what the output of the actual program will look like. All right, G says if there were errors, she would have to dash the program to locate and correct the errors. Which of the term is most suitable in order for Anissa to know or locate where the correct errors and correct the errors? And this she would have to implement the debug method. All right, so to debug the program. H says the program produced the correct results, and this meant that there were no dash errors or dash errors. So what are the other types of errors outside of the syntax errors? We have runtime error and we also have logic error. All right, and I believe that these can be used interchangeably. So no logic and or runtime. And then the final question, since all was well, Anissa then dashed the program with comments. And let's see what term is there, document. So in order to add comments, you would have to make some form of documentation there. All right, so documented. And this would have provided you with your full marks for this question. All right, I believe we will move on to question number 10 at this time. Question 10 informs us that the algorithm provides a guide for new students and also continuing students about paying their school fees. All right, so we're provided with 8 lines of codes that gives us the instructions, or gives the students rather the instruction as to how to proceed with their school fee payment. The first line provides the students the option to select whether or not they are a new student, and if it is that they are a new student, then that new student would have to attend counseling. All right, and also still with that new student, if they are ready to pay, then they would proceed to make payment. However, if they are not ready to make payment, then they are expected to consider a payment plan. All right, so lines 1 to 5 cover a new student. However, if the student is not new but rather a continuing student, then that continuing student on line 6 would be asked if they are ready to make payment. All right, if it is that they are ready to make payment, then on line 7 they would be instructed to make their payment. However, if they are not yet ready to pay, on line 8 they are advised to consider a payment plan. So let's get into the question and answering section. Question 10A says, suggest the appropriate action that should be taken by each of the following students. The first student that we meet here is Millie, and she is a new student. So that's a part of our criteria. Who is not yet ready to pay, and they're asking us what is the appropriate action that Millie should take. So again, Millie is new and she's not yet ready to pay. So if we proceed back to the line of code, the instruction for a new student, so she meets that first criteria, she is expected to attend counseling. All right, that's the first action that she is required to take. And the second part was that she's not ready to pay. So we're testing if she's ready to pay. Line 4, no, she is not. So we're proceeding to line 5, where she's considering a payment plan. So the action is that Millie should attend counseling and also consider payment plan. All right. 2 says that Roy, a continuing student who is ready to pay. So the criteria, he is continuing and he is also ready to pay. Continuing students, remember we said that they started at line 6 and we want to find out if he is ready to pay. So he is ready to pay. So on line 7, he is expected to make payment. So the action that Roy would take is that Roy would make payment. All right, and both of those questions amount to 3 marks. B says to state the main difference. So the main difference between a new student and a continuing student. So let's backtrack. A new student has to attend counseling. If we proceed to the bottom, a continuing student does not have to attend counseling. A new student is expected to make payment, so does a continuing student. A new student consider payment plan, so does a continuing student. So the difference is that the new student has to attend counseling. So the difference is that the new student has to attend counseling. All right, and that's 1 mark. C says that using the algorithm that we just went through above, right, we're expected to complete the table that is located below. So the first thing that we are expected to do is to write the line number in this section here, right, that is represented in the algorithm, or none if it is not represented. And then the second criteria is that we're expected to draw the corresponding flowchart symbol based on that line that matches with the step that is given. So the first step that they gave us is input or output, and they are asking which line can we locate an input or an output. All right, so my device is loading a little here. I'm unable to move my screen. Okay, ready to go. So where can we locate an input or output? And we're proceeding to the line of code to see exactly where. All right, so the decision was if the student is new, then we should output some information on line 2 that they should attend counseling. So indeed, line 2 gives us an output. And they also gave us a symbol already. Second one is a process. Which line can we find the process and what's the symbol that represents a process? So a process is where the calculation is taking place. Which of these lines would be able to provide some form of calculation? And line 4, I believe they would have to complete the calculation for the payment. So line 4 or line 7 could be feasible lines for a process. All right, so line 4 I said, or 7, either based on your selection. All right, what symbol represents a process? You're either a rectangle or a square. All right, not so neat, but enough for the job. All right, next one is a decision. So where did we have to make a decision? To determine between 2 or more options. All right, so line 1, a decision would have been made there to decide whether or not the student was new. Line 3 was also a decision to determine if the student was ready to pay or not. And line 6 was also a decision, again, based on the continuing. So for mine, I'm going to use line 1. You could have used line 1, line 3, or line 6. So line 1 could have used 3 or 6. And the symbol for a decision is a diamond. All right. Last one is a terminator, which would have been a start or a stop. There is no evidence of it in the code above, but they asked us for the symbol, which is represented by an oval. All right, 6 marks would have been allotted for that question. Question 11 says to draw the flowchart to illustrate the segment of algorithm that is presented here. So these 3 is what they asked for the flowchart to represent. First line says if you are ready to pay. Second, then make payment. Third, else consider payment. So if statement is a decision, so we place that within a diamond, and then payment would have been a process, and the consider payment would have been an output message. All right, so we can start with the previous directional arrow or the flow line to say that we're coming from a previous step, and then the decision. All right, what's the decision that we want to make? If the student is ready to pay, so are you ready to pay? All right, so it's either a yes or no. So for this one, I'm saying a yes. If it was a yes, then I would make payment, which is the process. So payment. All right, and then the no option would have been to consider payment plan. So the output message that we would have printed out, consider payment plan, and we could have used the term print and then this information within our double quotation. All right, finally we would have our stop. So both of these come to a stop after those instructions are given. All right, and that would have been our flowchart. Next question, it says that the following algorithm guides new and continuing students about course registration. we are to study the algorithm and answer the question. So the first line, this is similar to the previous code. First line, if you are a new student, then if you are full-time as a new student, still you would register for 5 courses. However, if you are not full-time, then the second option for that is that you would register for 3 courses. If it is that you are not a new student, your information proceeds on line 6, which is that you would have to check your credit hours. All right, so let's get into our question and answer. First, the information says that using the algorithm, which is this one above, we have to complete this table here to determine how students should register for courses. All right, so the option for the new student who is full-time, let's go back. So a new student who is full-time would register for 5 courses. So the option is register for 5 courses. All right. New student who is part-time, so the fact that they're not full-time, they would not register for 5 courses, but they would go to the second suggestion, which is to register for 3 courses. So register for 3 courses. All right. Next one, a continuing student who is full-time. New students account for lines 1 to 5. So a continuing student would have to use every line after that, which is only one line, which is to check their credit. So a full-time student would check credit hours. Part-time students who is continuing, they are not new, so they will still have to use line 6, which is also to check their credit hours. And that gives us a 4 mark. All right, next question says to state the name of the table above that showed the various options. So this table would have been referred to as a trace table. All right, and that would have wrapped up our solutions for this set of questions. The question that was additional there has array, which is taken from the syllabus, so I did not include it here. All right. Thank you guys so very much for watching this video, and I do hope that you would have learned something new or reiterated what you would have learned before. Thank you again for tuning in. Do like, subscribe, share to those who you know would benefit from this video, and I do hope that you enjoy the rest of your day.